Hey everyone, RogueGold here, and today's video and topic should be quite fun. This is something that I've been intending to make for a couple of weeks now. Obviously things have been rather hectic lately with the new year and the recent PTS phase, but we're finally getting around to it, and what we're going to be going over is discussing some of the bombshell information we learned from this latest season in the Division 2 Puppeteers, and by comparing it to past info we already had, I want to present a pretty wild theory I've constructed for where I think the story of the game may be headed in these seasons and content releases to come. Things really seem to be ramping up as we're about to head back to New York in the Vanguard season less than 2 weeks from now, and of course we've got the big story package of the Brooklyn DLC on the distant horizon. So this seemed like a good time to take my shot in the dark as to where things may be headed, and on that note, a few important disclaimers to throw out there. One, everything I'm about to go over in this video beyond what has already been revealed in the game are my own thoughts, speculations, and theories about the future direction of the story. And two, because of that, everything that's happened in the Division 2 up until now, including seasonal story, descent comms, etc., I'm considering as fair game. So, spoiler warning for any aspect of the game or story that you might be sensitive to and have not completed yet. With that said, let's not waste any more time and dive right in. And if you enjoy regular videos on the Division 2 like this discussing all aspects of the game, then be sure to click that subscribe button so that your inbox stays nice and cozy with all of the content coming your way. Definitely going to be ramping things up as we approach the launch of Season 3 here, but without further ado, let's go. And I wanted to begin by at least just mentioning the main thing that has sparked this whole theory and where I wanted to take this video, and that was something that we learned during the finale of Year 5 Season 2, the most recent story development in the game. This culminated in our pursuit of Agent Johnson as the recruiter at Camp White Oak. During that mission, we end up rescuing a new character named Birdie, who we had not previously met but has been name-dropped quite a lot prior, and as it turns out plays a pretty pivotal role as Vikram Malik's sister and one of Natalia Sokolova's most trusted and skilled tech experts. And from our interactions with Birdie and the comms we receive afterwards, we learn a lot of interesting stuff. But this is the piece that stuck out to me the most. Let me play it.
You're really okay? Yeah, why wouldn't I be? Nat had me on all kinds of top secret projects, never boring. You know what they say, a bored birdie is a dangerous birdie.
Secret projects?
Oh, yeah. You ever seen an underground city set up to wait out a nuclear winter?
Can't say I have.
Me neither. But the blueprints look promising.
So, yeah, the potential of Natalia and the Black Tusk constructing an underground city to wait out a nuclear apocalypse in order to finally purge her of her enemies, like us, I found that to be pretty intriguing. And when I heard it, the gears began to click for me a bit about how this all might tie in several other plot threads that we've been following for some time, as well as point to where things may be headed. So let's back up a bit, firstly going back to Season 4, End of Watch, where Fei Lao was our prime target. After the events of that entire season and some stuff that we learn later on, we know that Fei went undercover with the Black Tusk because she felt that it was imperative to eliminate Andrew Ellis as the President of the United States. At that point, he had already been allied with the Black Tusk for some time, and Fei thought that his ongoing presence was an existential threat to the division in the future of the country. As for exactly why she thought this, to my knowledge, we still don't fully know, but we do have plenty of clues. For example, the Lost Ellis Memos collectible journal entries. Throughout these 3 entries, Ellis drops several hints towards his involvement with the Black Tusk, Sokolova, and McManus, as well as what their overall objective might be. For instance, let me read a few lines. He says, "Natalia told me that there's only 2 things standing in her way, her brother and the button," whatever that means. Also, do what she says, push the button and blow up the world, or for once grow a fucking pair and stand up to the people trying to control you. They can't activate the protocol without your permission, there are fail-safes against it. And lastly, do not allow Natalia Sokolova to bully you into pushing the button. Do what you do best, Andrew, lie. Pretend that you will do it. Play the harbinger of death so that you can fuck her over and be the hero. I can do this. I can beat her at her own game, and when people find out what I've gone through, when they read my memoirs in 20 years, they will know the real hero of the story, the person who saved them from the brink of annihilation in the face of danger, was President Andrew Ellis. So, yeah, those are pretty revealing. And in case you're wondering what he's referring to by the button, it's not explicitly stated, but it's very heavily implied here and in other comms that he's talking about the nuclear button, the power that the president holds to decide to launch nuclear weapons that are under the control of the United States. Through these entries, Ellis seems to believe that he can hold out and stall Natalia long enough to not launch them. Faye clearly thought otherwise, however, and I suspect this was one of the key motivators for her to go undercover and eliminate him. So, like I said, we knew all of this from a long while ago, but the question I always had was, how does that benefit Natalia? Sure, she can nuke the world, but her and the Black Tusk are not immune from nuclear fallout, and if she does that, then there would truly be no one left to rule. Now, however, I believe we may have our answer with Birdie's clues about the plans for this underground city. If Natalia can go underground, nuke the world, and comfortably wait for a few decades before resurfacing, then all of her opposition will be gone in one fell swoop, the Division and anyone else. And with the notion of this general plan in mind, some of hers and the Black Tusk's actions over the past several seasons begin to make a bit more sense. Specifically, back in Year 5 Season 1, we saw a big effort by the Black Tusk to come across as much more friendly and as viable protectors to the general population, and during Maury's rescue mission at the zoo, we see them paint us, the Division, as the threat that they're evacuating these people from. So if Natalia can convince a few tens of thousands of people to go under her control, and then say, I don't know, the Division is getting their hands on some nukes to take the Black Tusk out, and then use that as an excuse to put everyone down into this underground city, that's not a half-bad plan to wipe out your enemies and be left standing with a population of people who believe that you saved them from annihilation. Another aspect potentially supporting this that I feel like I haven't seen a ton of people bring up is Mackenzie Merritt from the Paradise Lost incursion this season. We learn from the comms that Natalia basically orchestrated the entire cleaner assault on the estate and that her main asset, Wright, was instructed to capture Mackenzie and bring her in alive. And we know from the other comms that Nat and Mackenzie were, at least at one point, quite friendly long before the outbreak. Take a listen to this.
Right. Any updates?
Lovebirds are on board and ready for departure.
Excellent. Any provisions required for your coming out party?
Promise some extra protection that only a certain wealthy benefactor can provide access to.
Me or Cal?
Easier to use Cal's connections, less messy, and the Lovebirds will ask fewer questions.
Excellent. Rogues working with the cleaners. Nothing new. Nothing amiss. Nothing to see here.
Exactly.
When you're done at the estate, bring her to me.
You sure? Would be easier to neutralize the threat.
Easier, sure. But I've never known you to step away from a challenge, right?
You must have been really close to go to all this trouble for your friend.
We go back a long way. A lot of history there.
So the question becomes, why go through all of the trouble to raid this estate and capture and return Mackenzie to Nat? Well, if Nat knows that in the not-so-far future there might be nukes raining down on the Earth, she could be motivated to grab one of the only people she seemingly has a sentimental connection to and bring her down into this underground city, whether Mackenzie would want to go or not. And I think we're definitely going to learn more about these two's backstory in Season 3 and moving forward, given that in the Vanguard PTS you can find that Mackenzie has taken Kelso's usual spot at Haven. As a kind of secondary thread here, we've also got a very interesting tidbit from Birdie involving Barton Schaefer during the latest Manhunt. Take a listen to this comm between her and Manny discussing Black Tusk headquarters and its security.
You've actually been to their headquarters?
Oh, yeah. Dozens of times. Shit kept breaking. Needed someone to get the AC back up and running. They really should have built them all below ground, above the water table. The pumps to keep the water out have a tendency to overheat the bunkers.
How do you access the bunkers?
Biometric lock?
Do you have clearance?
Me? No. I wish. Always had to have one of those BTSU brats accompany me.
BTSU brats?
You know, one of Nat's inner circle. Dolores, Jack, Galveston, Arden.
Barden? Do you mean Barden Schaefer?
Yeah, I think so. Been a while since I've seen him, come to think of it. Past couple months it's just been Jack. Huh.
How did they get you into the bunker? Was it like a hand scanner or something?
Hand, retinal, biorhythm, and voice confirmation. All four at the same time. Not that sophisticated, really, but hard to fake if it's not the person. Especially the biorhythm. A couple of times Jack got us locked out for an hour until the system reset because he was too excited about something and his heart was beating too fast.
So the person is the key.
Now, I'm not gonna lie, this one gets me quite excited. I'm sure I'm not alone in the camp of wanting Schaefer to wake up. I found him to be one of the more entertaining and interesting characters to follow along with in the Division 2 story. And he's been in a coma for over 3 years in our real world time, so it's been a minute. And they're not being subtle here at all. Manny makes the connection saying the person is the key to gaining access to the Black Tusk's headquarters. And especially given that all of the other people Birdie mentioned are dead, Galveston, Bonnie, Brenner, etc., I think this lays a pretty pretty clear path to how at one point we're likely going to see Barden wake up, and once we gain one another's trust, use his security clearance to gain access to Black Tusk HQ. I think this also better contextualizes the events of Season 11, where we saw the Black Tusk make a play on the White House, partly to weaken us and steal various things like the bioreactor, but we know one of, if not their primary goal, was to recapture Barden Schaefer from our custody. And, aside from not wanting your enemies to have captive one of your top operatives, it wouldn't shock me if part of the risk of us having Barden to them is the fact that he retains access to their HQ, and they might not be able to go into their systems and remove his access. That stuff was all designed, to my knowledge, by Alex and Claire Ortiz, Trig Schneider, some others that I think they've mentioned, who are all either dead or seemingly MIA. So I think we'll see that all play out, and honestly, it wouldn't shock me if we see him wake up soon, potentially even in Year 5 Season 3 in just 2 weeks now. The reason I say that is because originally this season was going to lead directly into the Brooklyn DLC. Now that has been delayed to 2025, and we know we're getting 2 new seasons in between Season 3 and then, so I'm not sure how they'll work that out. I'm pretty sure they wouldn't have been able to significantly change Season 3's content after the delay. But regardless, this is all founded on the idea that I do think we're going to see some of these themes and plotlines play out in the Brooklyn DLC whenever we do get there. My super early prediction for now is that either the Black Tusk headquarters or this fabled underground city is located there, and that with Barden's help in some fashion we'll assault the facility, and who knows what will happen or what the exact objective will be. But yeah, with the added information of the supposed plans for an underground city, I think it just begins to help so many little threads and details begin to fall into place. And looping back to the whole nukes and president aspect, Calvin McManus has had a big role this season, and there's been much deliberation about the line of succession. I've seen many say it doesn't make logical sense for him to ever be next in line for office, but in the latest DissentCom, they basically foreshadowed it, with the NSA analyst from before the outbreak talking about how awful President McManus would be. And again, if Natalia's original plan was to have Ellis hit the button, having the backup plan be to install your own president who will hit it is not a bad alternative. But my friends, that is going to do it for this video and my big predictions and theories about the future of the Division 2 story. And honestly, this probably extends even beyond the Division 2. For reasons I won't expand upon for spoilers, we know that this overall conflict is not ending anytime soon chronologically. So this whole theme of the underground city could even be one that's paid off in the Division 3 far down the road, right? The Brooklyn DLC will be a pivotal moment, I predict, but it's far from the resolution, with likely more Division 2 content coming afterwards and the coming years of this franchise that seem to be charted out. So, who knows, likely very little of what I pitched in this video will come remotely true, but I think it's fun to talk about nonetheless. And on that note, I now turn the mic over to you all, and I want to hear your thoughts. Any ideas, theories, other observations about the Division 2 story that you want to share, I would love to read them down below. And I'm excited to see where things are headed. Aside from the general premise, we know very little about Season 3 so far. I've yet to see a data mine spoiler post published on Reddit, so let's hope it stays that way so that we don't have the usual divide of information in the community. But anyway, the Vanguard season is fast approaching, and that special report stream should be quite fun. That is going to do it for me today, everybody. Thank you all so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one. RogueGold. Ow.